I don't know why I do the two wave. I don't. I
They talk to each other. It's great. Hi, myself. Yay.
because part of me is still that like 9-month-old that's doing this just because it's fascinating.
Those mine.
I have. I have.
Those belong to me.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's show.
It's a little late. We're a little crazy. Yay!
It is a little late. This week has been wild. Wild. If you're new here, I'm Aurora.
I am
And
Mandy. That's
welcome.
right there. That's me.
And this chair, I need something with this chair, but we're gonna run with it tonight. I don't know. I shrank or something happened with the chair. I don't know. It distracted me. Anyway.
Do you remember those hand chairs? You just made me think of
Yes.
those. Those freaked me out. I was like, why would I want to put my butt in a hand? Not okay.
I didn't think. I always wanted
But then
one
I
of
got
those.
older.
I mean, fair. I always wanted one of the hammock chair swing things cuz to me that was the pinnacle of
Bliss. Absolutely. I agree.
and weirdly wealth. Somehow my brain associated that with wealth. I don't know how or why. They are not connected. It is not a thing. But so anyway, hi, welcome to the Unfiltered Tea. Where we have a whole intro. And tonight I am going to fill Mandy in on the latest in the Murdaugh stuff. And
Insanity.
you need to tell me, Mandy, though, we can get to that in a minute, but I need to know what the last update was because there has been so
It was
much.
the end of the not the end of, but it was like we were still talking trial. We were still talking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. When Emily D. Baker said the murdacity, I was like, that is an appropriate term that needs to just end up in Urban Dictionary because murdacity is
Indeed.
a different level of audacity, like a whole different level. Um, it's not to say that there aren't some things that we need to discuss. Anyway, yeah, and then the other rabbit hole I fell down this week is the 8 passengers tragedy. I'm gonna go with tragedy because I know YouTube gets fussy with certain words and I don't want to say some of the words, and this is like all of the words so
Yes.
far, and kids.
Yes.
So that's, I mean, the R word has been left out so far, so that's a step
That's
in the
yeah.
right direction. I mean, we'll take the
We'll
wins where
take the
we can
win.
get them.
I was just gonna say those words. Yes.
So, um, but that both of these things are somewhat heavy. So, I think Mandy and I were talking about some of the odd things that children do that are problematic or immensely stupid because you haven't had enough life experience to do
Yes.
some other thing. So I'm gonna like leave a lot of the 8 passenger stuff with a teeny little synopsis because there's a lot, and if you want to follow any of the actual proceedings happening with it, um, the lawyer is covering it and has excellent coverage. Swoop actually did a very good documentary like 5 months ago before all of this blew up.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
and so highly recommend her documentary. There are a couple of other like Mormon centric podcasts that have done a super deep dive into it as well, whose names I cannot remember right now. Um, highly recommend them as well. Natalie Lawyerchick is the other one who has also covered it. So that's a pretty good group. If you can find any of the others through the folks I have mentioned, and they are doing an excellent, excellent deep dive into everything. So I will let them cover the hard stuff, and Mandy and I can mention that it happened and go through the brief, like what is going on now. And then I one of the things that has fascinated me in the whole thing is the number of times it's like kids are literally learning how to be humans. So they do things like they don't come out. Some of these religions and stuff like that, or religions, expect babies to be, they just expect everybody to like pop out with this fully formed set of morals and notions and things like that. And I'm not disparaging anybody who believes that, like on a personal level, but I would want to ask you many, many questions about that, because that's not how that works, like at all. I don't care what the faith is. That's just not how people work.
No.
So, yeah. So it's kind of dark. So I'm hoping to keep it light-ish.
Oh,
Like
we will.
not.
We will. We got this.
It's a weird deep dive. So anyway, we'll start with Mudaugh, which is just Murdacity and craziness. And I'm gonna go ahead and run the intro, and then because I haven't told Mandy any of this, guys. Here's the thing: I've not actually told Mandy any of what is happening. I said, "What do you know?" And she said, "Not much." So this is going to be a test.
A
So,
real life reaction video.
real life
Yay!
reaction, and a test to see if I can actually remember things, because I couldn't find any articles that actually like were missing enough ads to be worthy of pulling up, and B, had any information in them. So with that, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to roll the intro. Hello and welcome to the Unfiltered Tea, a show where we say all the things you wish the newscasters said, unscripted and unfiltered. We talk about news, politics, and entertainment, so pull up your soapbox, pour yourself a cuppa, and let's go. I'm making a note of one thing that I almost got right and then I didn't. Okay, so a little hydration.
Yes. Tell me a tale.
So I'm going to skip over the insanity that is happening with the insurance right now, but there are more court things with the insurance company and Alex Murdaugh being like, but you should have believed me that I was like, you should believe me now that I lied then. And so there's that whole mess. It's, I can't wrap my head around it, so I can't speak on it because it is so confusing to me that the best I understand it is basically Alec Murdaugh has told the insurance company that paid out the Satterfield boys, the woman who died on their property, her
Right.
children received a settlement from the insurance company, except Murdaugh stole it and the boys never saw a penny of it. And the insurance company is like, hey, now that we know that, can we get that back from you so that, it's not. And Alec
Because it
Murdaugh is
wasn't
like,
your money. Yeah.
because it wasn't your money. And Alex Murdaugh is like, I don't have it. Talk to the boys that I stole the money from.
Mm-hmm.
So I could be wrong in that. But so that's insanity level number one.
Sure.
And then Murdaugh's attorneys held a press conference at the beginning of the week in conjunction with filing a motion to ask the appeal to be put on pause for a minute while they do some investigating because there might need to be a new trial.
Ooh.
And here's where it gets weird. So the more I listen to some of this, the more I'm like, didn't we listen to this in the trial? Like, this has Murdaugh's patty paws all over it, from what I can tell, based in the trial evidence. Because I was listening to somebody going through, was it Lawyer You Know? It might have been Lawyer You Know. Anyway, I was listening to somebody going through this press conference and things, and I realized it sounded an awful lot like the very line that they gave to the Satterfield boys when it was like, look, this happened on my property. Let me put you in touch with this other attorney, because it can't be somebody from my firm, but I know a good guy. So why don't I put you in touch with them, and they will represent you, and then you'll get the money and all of that. And what really ended up happening was the guy got the money for them and then handed it off to Mudaugh.
I'm sorry, there's a dog in my room. Hi.
I was just saying the
help you? Oh my God.
Hi, Thor. Hi, baby. Mm-hmm.
Hi. Go see your sister. Go.
Life with pets, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed, he's quite the rambunctious little dude, big dude. He is. Actually,
that was adorable though. So, Harpootlian and Jim Griffin come out in a press conference and let us know that they are now representing two of the jurors from the Mudaugh trial.
Okay.
Because the clerk of court wrote a book, and the two jurors there's probable cause affidavits. I should have brought those up. That would have been helpful. I'm sorry, everybody. I forget I have access to those documents, and then I try and Google stuff, and I Google wrong.
So wait, what's the suit?
That the clerk of court was tampering with the jury by saying things like, don't believe anything this guy has to say before Mudaugh testified, things like that. There is enough, and some of the excerpts from her book have come out with some strange wording. She does tend, in her book, self-published, her book does tend, the clips I've seen, to lean on the we and us when referring to her and the jury, which is a problem because she's the clerk of court.
Yes.
So based on that, the fact that Jim Griffin and Dick Harpootlian and Alec Mudaugh are still all working in conjunction together. Also, Alec Mudaugh got his tablet privileges taken away in jail because he was using a different inmate's PIN number to reach out to his attorney, where they were actually recording the conversation to go into a documentary. So when these same group of people come out onto a platform filled with microphones and say we need a new trial because jury tampering, I'm not predisposed to believe any of them.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
And then they both threw the judge under the bus and then didn't throw the judge under the bus because they know I would be shocked if there was any misconduct with this judge.
Yeah.
And most of what they're saying is like this, here's the accusation, but then congratulating the court on running everything clean and smooth. And then there's these accusations that this was all happening all through the trial,
Mm-hmm.
and yet nobody said anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that I don't understand. I mean, not the only part, but
So yeah, I,
so what it sound my first gut reaction, and I don't obviously have enough like in-depth understanding yet of all the things in play here, but my gut reaction is there are a bunch of people who want to take this trial and make it their way not to have to work for a living ever again. And I support that. You and I were just talking today. I was under the weather earlier this week, and you know what? If I had to not go out of my house any more than I wanted to for the rest of my days, that would be okay with me. I mean, I hate to put that out there in the universe. I mean that in a healthy, surviving,
you
thriving
mean that,
kind
and
of
you want
way.
this channel to take off so that you don't
Yes.
actually have to have a day job? Like I can keep my day job because I love it, but
And I love my day job. I do. I just don't. I've reached a point where I don't love people anymore. So I'd love the freedom to be able to say at my job, "You don't need me in the building 9 times out of 10.
Mhm.
When you do, here for it. But you don't.
You
I'm
don't
good."
need me.
God, I hope my boss doesn't watch this. Sorry, James. Anyway,
You can love your job and also
yeah.
not
And
want
it's
to
I
leave your
do
house. Two things
I
can
love
be.
the people that I work with too. I just
Yeah,
most of my day is spent not with them. It's
yeah,
it's either spent in a not comfortable place because it's an office and they're not built for comfort.
yeah,
Um,
no.
Mostly by myself, or it's spent trying to wrangle other humans that aren't not my coworkers, like other humans that I need to do things to. Anyway, I'm going to stop
Yep.
explaining myself. I would love it if I could find a way to do the things that I do now without having to people very often,
Mhm.
and on my own terms. That's really what it is. Being able to do things on your own terms. So I get that, but it sounds like the clerk of the court would like to not be the clerk of the court anymore. It sounds like the jurors didn't really like going back to work, maybe sitting and listening to a trial was the best time they'd had in a really long time. It just that's the first thing that springs to my mind, and I don't know these people, and this is the first I'm hearing of it, so not to pass immediate judgment, but that's how it feels to me upon first hearing. And
It's
if they can find a way to do that, lots of people do, so good luck to you.
like
Lots of people don't too, cautionary tale, but
oh yeah. I mean, and I don't begrudge her for writing the book. That wouldn't be an issue. And I'm curious as to what an evidentiary hearing would have. I don't think there's a way out
mm,
of an evidentiary hearing. Um, there was some debate because I'm going to paraphrase and I'm going to exaggerate ever so slightly. So just keep that in mind. But in the press conference, Harpootlian basically said so they had two jurors and one that had gotten kicked off of the jury. Um, so three people total, all saying the same thing. And Harpootlian and Griffin had said that lots of other people had slammed the door in their face, and these other two only came forward after they found the book,
mm.
and we're like, hey, wait a second, no. The rest of the jurors were like, you do. Like,
Yeah,
we're just gonna go back to our lives. Please don't figure out who we are
right.
and all of that. Because that's the other thing is my gut instinct on this is I feel like this is how to put this. Let me finish, and then I'm gonna let you know what this feels like it is. Even though
Okay.
there is no basis for it, it's just a gut instinct with no basis. So if anybody hears it, it is not an allegation. It is hypothesis based on nothing but watching everybody in the trial. Um, But so in this press conference, Harpootlian and Griffin, Murdaugh's attorneys, basically said to everybody else, you might want to lawyer up because we're going to have a hearing about this and the judge is going to be a witness. And so one of the other attorneys involved in all this, because it's a small area, so you've got Eric Bland, who is I am going to take the Murdaughs down legally, one by one by one by one. Or Alex specifically. Like, is it a charge against Alec Murdaugh? He's going to take the man down. So his response was, hey, these other jurors can pay all the legal fees they want. They came to these guys, they asked for them, whatever the payment arrangement is between them and you, fine. If anybody else needs representation, come to us and we will represent you for free, because no other juror should have to incur legal expenses to be able to do this properly. And he is now representing two of the jurors who have opposite things to say.
Okay.
So that leads me to this. Assuming we end up with the evidentiary hearing, and assuming that all of the jurors are then called to testify, along with the judge and all of that, that then becomes public, which means their names become public, which means all of the jurors become public, as opposed to remaining anonymous.
Yeah. Ugh.
And that's my issue with it. Because at the end of the day, just to get the answer of yay or nay, it exposes every single juror that put him away. I would guess, if they're all called to testify.
Well, that's, yeah. Well, I suppose it also depends on whether they're actually subpoenaed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was trying in my rusty Rolodex of a semi-legal adjacent brain to figure out if there was a way to hold such a hearing that wouldn't be public. But I can't come up with one.
There is.
I mean, it is. We were talking about some of the stuff related to Depp Heard last time, and that there is a way in which it's great that so much of our legal system is exposed. It's not clandestine, right? But there definitely are downsides to that too.
There are. And that's why this feels like Mudaugh is it just, based on everything in trial. This is not like, this is based on how the Satterfield boys got the money stolen from them. This is the financial crimes that the prosecutions brought into the trial.
Mm-hmm.
Is going through the list of all of the financial crimes and how he committed everything. This has all of the hallmarks on it of, y'all have pissed me off, so I'm going to make it so that you don't get that piece, so that you don't have to go home, so that you can't go home and just go to bed.
Yeah.
Because Court TV is going to want to talk to you, and Law and Crime is going to want to talk to you, and Fox is going to want to talk to you, and all the local affiliates are going to want to talk to you. And so you can't be anonymous based on that. And I don't, if the clerk wants to write a book, I don't really care. From what I've read, the writing is, I mean, I know she had a ghostwriter and a journalist. And
is it better than Twilight?
I only have a paragraph.
You paused way too long. You paused way too long on that.
I did.
I have an unhealthy obsession with the Twilight movies, or I used to. I've watched them enough times now. I'm pretty much over it. But so I'm not judging anybody who enjoys Twilight. I just, yeah, that's sort of my standard of like, is it here? Is it Twilight? Is it 50 Shades of Grey? Is it?
I feel like this book is well, I mean, I did throw Angels
Dan
and
Brown?
Demons.
I mean,
I was gonna say I threw Angels and Demons across the room. I was only able to, but I got like 3 chapters in before I threw it across the room, and it only got thrown across the room because I counted adverbs, and there was like 9 in a sentence, and that's too many adverbs in a sentence. Too many.
Some people like flowery language.
It was when you're reading Angels and Demons right after reading Stephen King's On Writing.
Yeah.
So that got thrown across the room. Twilight, I managed to read a single paragraph in the bookstore before I put it down and went, mm-mm.
Yeah,
and
it was
50 Shades of Grey, I've only read things that have been thrust in front of my face against my will.
That's very 50 Shades of Grey. I'm just saying.
I'm aware. I crafted that sentence intentionally.
Well done.
So I guess I've read about the same in this book, and I would put them all in the same category, which is Firestarter.
Yes.
For me. For other people may enjoy them very much.
Everybody has different things that they like or don't like about writing. But yeah, I hear you.
It definitely the bits that I've read so far have not inspired me to want to go purchase the book, find the book. Although I think the book is going to become... What happens with copyright if a book becomes evidence and therefore public record? I have questions.
So here's the thing. I don't think you can make an entire book evidence. I don't believe. And I certainly don't believe you can make an entire copyrighted book a matter of public record. You'd have to be using excerpts or something like that. That's, again, legal adjacent brain that is very foggy. But yeah, I think that would be, and I do think that it will become much more popular. I have no idea how well it's done. Self-publishing is also an interesting choice. So I'd want to, that's where I was like, I want to dig into like, what method of self-publishing did you use and what options do you have if it gets more popular? Yeah, I want to know more.
Yeah, I should check it on Amazon. Somebody said something that it was, so before all of this broke and before Harpootlian and Griffin got on the thing and went, she's just after money, was making nothing.
Yeah.
Because we went through 7 weeks of that insanity. Most people, oh good, in jail, convicted,
got their fill. Yeah.
Moving on. But then they got up on the stand. Then they got up, not the stand. They got up on the podium and were like, she wants to make money. And then it blew up. And then the book sales went crazy, which is the other part of it that I'm like, none of this feels...
Yeah, I mean, it does all feel like a conspiracy cahoot, to quote a TV show I really enjoy.
Nuts! It's like, wait, this is like I walked into a Hollywood movie, but this is a real headline that I'm reading from the New York Times. What is happening? I shouldn't give the New York Times that much credit, but still.
Ooh, shots fired.
I think we all know how I feel about the New York Times. Incredible, yes. I'm still going to find another source.
So there's now
Yeah.
going to be potentially this evidentiary hearing,
Mhm.
but also supposedly a suit from the jurors. I'm confused. Are they the same thing, or are they two separate things?
They're like the same thing. And that's where it gets confusing in the reporting. I'm
Okay.
going to address the journalists here for a minute. Only use the term lawsuit when it's a lawsuit, because y'all said lawsuit with the Michael or Tui family thing, and that is not a lawsuit, not a thing. That is a different thing entirely. Don't
Okay.
use lawsuit when you don't mean lawsuit.
That's fair.
It's confusing for those of us who are not in law, but who are law adjacent enough that we know it's not a lawsuit. There has been a motion to stop the appeal, to like put a pin in the appeal, because that's, I think, timed, and to look at the evidence for this to determine if they should continue with the appeal or if the trial should be overturned. And we start brand new again.
Okay.
I don't want a new the only good that could come out of a brand new 6-week trial is, 1, if it were 4 weeks instead, and 2, if the AG's office could, I don't know, prosecute better and
Yeah,
have their shit together from the get-go. That would be great. That would be great.
it would.
Maybe look at some LawTube and get some tips. I'm just saying.
But where are you going to find a fair and impartial jury at this point? I'm
That.
sorry.
Yep.
I will be right back.
Okay. Mandy has disappeared. I am going to tell everybody to go get a snack. And, well, hit pause and go get a snack, because I'm going to hit pause on my end, because I'm not going to edit this. So, yep. You will see us back here in just a moment. Okay. That was a weird interlude, everybody. But
We're
you're
back.
used to that. We're back. The pause button on my side of the world when we're recording is like the magic golden ticket as far as I am concerned. So I am now going to swoop so that when I go and put in the timestamps, you know, I can timestamp appropriately. I'm going to do the thing. Okay. So I'm going to keep you up to date, Mandy, because I don't know
Please.
what the hell is going to happen next, but every time,
Yeah.
seriously, every time it's like, okay, this is done. It's like freaking Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Every time you're like, great, this can go in a happy little box and everybody can stay there. It's like, ha 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 ha.
Just
But
kidding.
what about this? And you're like, wait,
It's Columbo. One more thing. Just one more question.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I will look forward to our next chat about this.
So I'm excited to do that. All right. We're gonna swoop again, and then, man, this is what happens. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, Mandy has a life and a family and shit to do. I work my job, and my parents are currently on vacation. And so it's me, the dog, and my own thoughts.
Sounds like hell.
Mm-hmm. So it's lovely that it's quiet. However, what this also means is that in order for me to focus on my work, because neurospicy brain over here. I have YouTube on all day with things that I can pay like half attention so that I
Yeah.
can focus on neurospicy people know what I'm talking about on this. We're having something on. Some people are like, how can you work with noise? How can
No,
you
yeah.
work in silence? My thoughts take up a lot of space.
That's what it is. You're drowning out the sound of your own thoughts because
Yes.
otherwise they go all the directions at the same
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody who's a multitasker successfully, you must not be neurospicy, because when I start to multitask, then all of a sudden there are 12 rabbit holes that my brain can go down instead of just like 4.
Or you're
A
like my dad
disaster.
or Ian Runkle. If I'm
Mm.
not doing 7 things really well all at the same time, I cannot function. And I'm like, I
No.
have to be listening to 2 things at once to do 1 thing really well.
Yep.
But if you ask, but it can't be music, because if it's music, then I can't focus on my actual work that I need to do. Because if there's song lyrics, I
Yes.
I can't. I am the person that if you get in the car and I want to talk to you, I will turn the radio off because I
Mm-hmm.
can't have the radio on and talk to you at the same time. Because I'm sorry, Cyndi Lauper will drown you out every time, every time, every time.
I
Nerd.
have that disease where if I know the lyrics, then I have to sing along, and that
Mm-hmm.
does not play out well while trying to accomplish anything except like the dishes. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's where that works.
Dishes,
Yeah.
driving with nobody else in the car,
Yeah. Yeah.
or dogs in the car. Although Guinness did not like my singing. Macy seems to be okay with it. Guinness, my singing in my car dancing, and he would just be like,
Oh. So I was listening to TV through my, phone through my Bluetooth, while doing dishes last night, and something crazy happened on the show I was watching, and so there was all this like screaming in my ears, and I look over and Thor is just looking at me like, and I was like, oh, don't worry, it's just the people in my head got really loud again. They'll die down shortly. Yeah, our poor animals. They're so
that was
confused.
that was Guinness. Anytime I would try and dance, he's like, "Ma,
Sit down.
really? You think you can pull that off?" And Macy's like, "Oh, are we dancing? Let's dance!" And then she'll waggle. It's so much fun. So, yeah. All right. I'm gonna swoop.
Yes,
We're gonna get a little super dark, and then somehow we're gonna lift it out of the pits of hell,
indeed.
and then we will tie up this evening with a bow. I think that, yeah. Hit the right button. That would be good. Hit the right button. I'm making notes to make my life easier tomorrow. Hi guys, I timestamp. I am my own producer at the moment. Like and subscribe. Do all the YouTubey things so that
Yes.
maybe one day, a year in the future, I don't have to make all my notes and I can just be my shining and lovely personality.
I get to do that now. So please help, or please send help.
Help. And coffee.
Always.
Always coffee. Or whiskey. I mean, tonight was a whiskey stream because between the Murdacity, I'm telling you, I know Emily D. Baker said that first. I'm giving her that credit. But seriously, Urban Dictionary.
Yes.
Get that going. Please. It's its own level. So the other, because I fall down the YouTube rabbit holes. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No.
Okay. Anybody I think who is on YouTube at all these days, at least in the spaces I frequent, has heard about the 8 passengers thing. Another case of YouTubers that I never heard of before, wanting to be okay, I had never heard of these people before based on the things that have come out and that I've seen. It seems like a group of people that wanted to be the Duggars, but with, I don't know, 10 less children.
Lovely.
Yeah. And Mormon instead of the IBLP, there's not, my apologies to anybody who follows these religions. There's not really a difference. They're all kind of the same basic.
Yeah, well,
The terminology is different, but there is a group of them: Mormons, the IBLP, JWs, Scientologists, although the names are really different there, but same, the basic things in it are all kind of the same. And so that's why I realized that a JW being compared to a Mormon is like, we're not the same. From an outsider looking in, you are. It is, the terminology is different. The rules are all the same.
or so it seems from those in the public eye who talk about it.
True.
Just
I
gonna put
will
that out
say I can't always tell, like, you can always tell Mormons on missionaries. There is a uniform. Intentional or not, you can always tell. I happen to live in a city where the JW convention happens every year.
there. Mm.
Oh, you can tell. You can spot a JW on the street from a mile away. The men have a little more anonymity. The devout women do not. It is the Jill Duggar look. Like, I know they're not IB, but IBLP isn't really a church either. It's a method of things.
Not even sure I know what IBLP stands for. Sorry if that makes me ignorant.
No, I
but
have to look that up.
I am ignorant of many things.
I have to look that up. It is
the Institute in Basic Life Principles. Interesting.
Yes, that is the Bill Goddard thing. Anyway, it was designed, so the Mormons use a lot of the IBLP things for their homeschooling, as do the JWs, as do these other churches. I am not an expert. I just happen to be fascinated by religion and, to my mind, cults. Because when I look at the things in Mormonism and the things in the JWs and the things, it's like, there's a lot of sanctioned abuse in there. And the IBLP teachings and things like that. And the IBLP is like, they put out a lot of the booklets and things for these groups doing. Can you tell how many rabbit holes I have dove down, documentary wise and all of that? So anyway, like, this is a curiosity for me because I'm the bitch that quit Sunday school as a very precocious, I'm going to say 4-year-old. Everybody says 3-year-old. I was a precocious 3-year-old, but I did quit Sunday school very, very young. I got to go upstairs and make coffee with the grandmas. Because keep in mind, like, my grandmother and my grandfather literally built the church that I was being taken to on Sunday.
That's Yeah, okay.
And I was the one. Okay, so story time. Story time, everybody, because I gotta lead with this before we go into the deep dark YouTube rabbit hole that is Eight Passengers and why I've been secular since I could form a sentence. I'm in Sunday school, and the Sunday school teacher compared God with our then president at the time, Ronald Reagan.
Okay. I mean, before you said a name, you already lost me, but okay. Sure.
So near as I can remember, and keep in mind, I was a toddler, and that was a very long time ago. So this is basically how the conversation went down. So God runs the universe, much like the president runs the country. This would be the Sunday school teacher, by the way. Me.
Uh-huh. Yes, Aurora, yes.
So does that mean we get to pick God? No. No, that's not what that means. But my parents didn't vote for Ronald Reagan. So not everybody in the country voted for Ronald Reagan, but he's still our president anyway. So if God is like the president, then we should be able to elect God.
Wow. Wow. I mean, you're not wrong. My brain immediately went to like, so are the angels Congress? Like, what's happening? How do you ratify new laws? I don't understand. I mean, because since the Ten Commandments, it's been pretty quiet. So I don't like. How does that? I mean, the Pope, I get, but well, they're a cardinal. Like that's my brain was like building the branches of religious government. Which, by the way, as I've just talked myself through that, there kind of are.
Yes, I am impressed actually.
But yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Also, like, so if you don't like the president, as we always all joke about when somebody is up for election that we don't like, you can move.
Yeah, I think I tried that somewhere in the conversation. And that's when I was that's when this poor, and I think she might have been 20. I mean, this poor
Oh,
girl,
yeah,
like
yeah.
she was
That is like where they audition teachers, basically. Yeah, yeah.
poor girl. She thought she had the best way to explain God
Well,
and
in her
religion.
defense, small children aren't supposed to understand the government. Because that's the whole function of our public education system, and you haven't gone through it all yet. She was not ready for you, clearly.
She was not ready for me. I mean, my grampy, my dad's dad, was a civics teacher.
Oh yeah, okay,
U.S.
yeah.
history, like civics teacher. And then there's my dad. Yeah. So here I am, and this poor woman is like, I don't, I don't, I don't know what to do with this. I need you to leave. Can you go upstairs to the regular sermon? Can you be quiet for like the regular sermon requires you to be quiet. I'm like, no, that's more interesting to me. Because the pastor would at least talk to me. The pastor would have been like, she said, what? Because I was just hung up on the election part. You can't compare God to the president and not have an election. I could not make that leap.
That is fair. That is fair.
So let it be, let anybody who is watching this, it is either an innate disrespect within my core being that I cannot seem to shake. But that is not how I intended. I intended it's just I was born secular, and no amount of religion or religious teaching has ever gotten me to change my mind. Ever.
I apparently came home saved at like 7 or 8, something like that, from my grandparents' church. So Took care of that real early. Got it right off
I
the
mean,
to-do list. I don't remember that day. I don't remember coming home and declaring it. I have asked my mother when she tells this story in years since, like, did you ask my grandparents if that was really a thing, or did I just hear it a bunch and went, that sounds cool. Yeah, me too. Because I like, yeah. And then I whatever, I was lost again shortly thereafter. So here we are.
I
No,
mean,
I mean, before we dive into this, like, just my disclaimer is, like, I have a great deal of respect for the principles and values of the chief religions of our globe, our global community. I think every single one of them, the extremists, if you want to call them that, and by extremists I don't just mean people who take lives in the name of but people. Every religious text I've ever read is stories from which you are meant to learn lessons. Of course, there are some rules and some laws baked in there as well. But if you take those stories as actual facts and try to follow the letter of teachings that are now thousands of years old, and force everyone around you to do that too, and to believe that anyone who doesn't do that exactly is going to hell, I just don't believe that that's healthy on any level.
Somebody's wrong. Like, with the amount of religions we have on this planet, there's the majority are wrong. If you
my fundamental problem with organized religion, because I'm sort of agnostic, like, I just don't, because it's the whole, like, Santa in the clouds image that I was given in my childhood of Christian God was like, but then there's the Old Testament, and that doesn't feel like Santa. So I'm just like, I don't understand how humans think that they can understand a higher power well enough to be like, here's what they think about eating meat on Friday. Like, I just don't think that that's a thing. So no disrespect to those who do. You do you, I do me. It's all good. I also don't believe that you should push your beliefs on anybody else. That's where I'm at.
And the one thing I've agreed with Lewis from Angels in America on since day one, anything less than 5,000 years old is a cult. I do agree with Lewis on that. I do. But also, when you look at it, you know me, Mandy, it's all about math for me, right? Which is weird because I'm not the math major of the two of us. But it's always the math problem for me, right? So when you take basically any major world religion that has survived for a significant number of centuries, and I don't care if it's multiple gods or one god or fish in the air, I don't care. The two basic tenets of every single one of them make sense to me. Don't be a dick. Take care of your planet.
And your global community. That really is the message. It's like,
that's it. That's religion.
Like, Anyway, I could go on about that for a long time, and I don't mean to sermonize my lack of organized religious, what's the word? Association. So,
I tried to be an Episcopalian. I come from a very long line of lapsed Episcopalians, like very long. You know how some people trace their family tree back to when they arrived in the US?
Yes.
My family does that, but also every single generation is like, and this is when we went secular.
It's in your DNA.
It really is. One of my mother's ancestors got kicked out of England before the revolution here, came here. I believe he was a Quaker, but I wouldn't quote me on that. Angered all of the Puritans here. Got kicked out. Got sent back to England. Where he got kicked out again. And then he landed in Maine eventually.
Good Lord.
And I think there was some friendships with pirates somewhere in all of that.
I think there'd almost have to be.
I know, right? Like, I feel like that many trips across the ocean, circa 16 whatever, would
Yeah.
require. We digress. We digress. We
Indeed.
digress.
Today's religious, supposedly, atrocity.
Yes. I'm gonna swoop because I feel like that was a nice little happy interlude
It
discussing
was.
religion as a whole.
Indeed. And seriously, folks, no disrespect to whatever you believe. You
True.
If it brings you comfort, joy, meaning, enjoy.
It is.
I am probably lesser for not having that in my life. So
please don't ask me to join, but I will absolutely defend your right to follow, believe whatever you will. Please don't ask me to join you. That's my only request. Don't care. As long as you are not harming anybody, I'm good. You do you. Finding there. Now, that said.
Sorry, I'm fixing a thing. There we
go.
Oh,
that's okay.
I'm back.
Key thing. Don't harm anybody.
Yeah.
So the other rabbit hole that I've fallen down, I was 8 passengers. And most folks who are on YouTube probably know the 8 passengers thing at this point because it's everywhere, at least in the YouTube things that I follow. 2 people arrested for child harm.
Endangerment.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Trying to find the YouTube friendly word for that.
Yes, okay.
Because one of the children escaped, ran to a neighbor's, asked them to call the police. They had duct tape and wounds, and yeah, there are many channels covering this. Again, if any of the folks who have left the Mormon church that have podcasts, I would check their stuff out. Lawyer has covered this. He covers a lot of criminal stuff, so I would check that out as well. It was interesting because when it first kind of broke, and I was watching Peter Tragos's coverage. He's the lawyer, and in the chat, it was fascinating because one of the videos that sent up huge alarm bells with these folks. I suppose I should maybe tell people who they are if you don't actually know. Basically, it's a Mormon family that was trying to be the YouTube Duggars and was successful at it for a while. Until people asked a lot of questions. And yes, I use the Duggars in this intentionally because I do think that TLC and the Duggars caused this problem of family vloggers in the first place, with putting kids on screen for finance, not for the kids, but for their own personal gain and for their own ministry. Doesn't feel like the right word.
Following.
Yeah, that feels better. Ministry feels like a wholesome word. And while I am sure that all of these people thought of it, truly, honestly believed that ministry was the correct term, it doesn't sit well with me for various reasons. But yeah, and the kids seemingly were abused, and so a lot of the previous clips from their family blog channel have come to light, including things like a 6-year-old forgetting her lunch and mama, who is now in jail, being like, I'm not, it's her responsibility to bring her own lunch, and I hope nobody gives her any lunch. And I've told the teacher that this is her natural consequence of forgetting her lunch. And within that chat, there was a bit of a back and forth. And so I've sort of, that's the 8 passengers thing. It's horrific. I am glad that 2 people are in custody. Um, it's going to be a hard watch. I'm going to follow it because, in part because how to put this? I've had a lot of encounters with people like that in my time where they have used their religion as a sword and told me that because I'm secular, I am a less moral person. I cannot imagine, and I have worked with kids with serious issues such as autism, with difficulty in emotional regulation and things like that. And think of an incident when we were in college and understanding the sheer strength that a single human can have when they are having a psychological break, for lack of a better term. The notion of religion setting them above me has always not sat well with me. The idea that, like, I follow the one true faith, but do you? And if you're okay with not bringing your kid a lunch
at 6, I mean,
at 6, I mean, that's the thing. At 6 is the big thing for me. But you're a mom, Mandy. Like, I realized that just as a babysitter, my rules were different and always have been. But as the auntie, as the babysitter, I've been the mean one, right? And when I say I'm the mean one, I'm the one that's like, no, you don't get dessert. You've eaten 2 bites of pasta and half a bite of chicken. You don't get chocolate cake. You can finish your dessert. You can have a piece of fruit. I don't care. But you're not getting the chocolate cake. Like,
Yep. You know, I mean, there are so many facets of this. There's certainly the part of me, and you and I have already talked about this a little bit, but you know, I have a forgetful family, really, including myself. Though I usually am the one who serves myself up punishment for forgetting things.
You're very good at serving your own self-punishment. You are.
I am. I can do it without even moving or speaking. It's great. But there's a big difference for me between a kid who once in a while forgets to bring their lunch or leave something at home that they need for school or whatever. And sometimes my life is such that I can't drop everything and bring you what you need. That's absolutely true. It's not because it's the consequence of forgetting the thing. It's because, yeah, you forgot the thing. That was your job. You needed it. I can't drop whatever juggling act I'm doing right now to fix it for you. I'm very sorry. But aside, you know, that not being the case, if it's something that happens once in a while or it's something that happened once today, if I can bring you whatever it is, I'm probably gonna. if it's something that happens all the freaking time and you take no responsibility clearly for your own happiness and having the things that you need, then yeah, maybe once in a while saying, you know what, for today, you're going to have to live without lunch. And, a 6-year-old probably gets off school before 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's not like they're going to starve to death. There's no real risk of that. And hopefully it will serve as a reminder to help you not forget your lunch in the future. But there's such a gap in my mind. And I'm hearing your recounting of this particular tale and I have not seen this actual mom talking about it, but there's a big difference between, you forgot your lunch, I can't help you, or you forgot your lunch for the 10th time in a row, and that's on you. And 6-year-old, I know it's only been half a minute since you figured out how to wipe your own butt. However, you have forgotten something, and you need to learn that that's a big deal. You screwed up, and the consequence is you don't get lunch. Yeah, there's a big difference there.
Yeah, and it's,
and all kids are different. Some kids are capable of making and taking their own lunch because it's important to them. And some kids, they could really care at lunchtime what their lunch is, but that morning or the night before or whatever, they can barely get through whatever's right in front of them right then. And that's the other piece for me, is like, is this a kid who should be charged with the responsibility of bringing their own lunch and not having you put it in their bag in the morning? I don't know, because I don't know your kid, and kids are individual, and family relationships are individual. So sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no. It is that thing of like, when I think of my nieces and nephews, there are some that the only option, if it was going to be their responsibility, would be to make sure that they had money in their wallet for the week. And if they ran out,
yeah,
you made bad choices at school for buying lunch. But even then, there's usually like, there's an understanding of the fact that it's a 6-year-old. I mean, when I was a kid, the battle consistently every night that my parents just stopped making a battle was over food. And it was because I, especially as a toddler, was part bird. I would eat 3 times my own weight, but in tiny little bites throughout the whole time. So I wouldn't finish my dinner when they were all done with dinner because I would be full. Yeah. And then, but they let me just leave the table. They just wouldn't clear my plate until like 8 or 9 o'clock, and until right before bedtime, really, because what would happen is they would let me leave the table when I was full, and I would go off and play and come back and eat a bite. So if I had like a little bowl of macaroni and cheese, right? Little kid bowl of macaroni and cheese, I would not even make a dent in it at dinner, and then throughout the evening, and I'd come back and be like, for the final bite, oh, it's gone now. And I remember at least a few occasions where Dad would be like, oh, do you want dessert now? No.
Yeah.
Because I never had a sweet tooth anyway, so it was just like, but that did 2 things with how they handled that. That did 2 things with me. Number 1, I eat when I'm hungry and I stop when I'm full, which is not a thing that is normal in this culture at all. Because it wasn't a punishment. Food was never reward or punishment outside of sweets. And my parents were hippies. Sweets 9 times out of 10 were blueberries and strawberries. So
that's amazing, though. Yeah.
But and the flip side of that's like, as a toddler, I can't tell you how many times I went to bed without dinner because I put my dinner on the floor violently with attitude.
Yeah. What is that? Well, it's control. I know it's exercising control over what you think you can control and pushing boundaries. Like I get that, but the urge to throw your food on the floor, it seems to be. I'm trying to Rolodex through like whether or not my child ever did that. If they did, I've blocked it out.
I don't
I
know. I don't recall. I mean, I recall her wearing an
Oh
awful lot
yes,
of her food as
there was
a
a lot
small
of
child.
that. Yeah.
There was a whole lot of yogurt baths happening when she was very small.
Yes. Yes. And the first birthday, the requisite, she literally had icing everywhere. She actually, it was great. You know those giant chocolate chip cookies?
Uh-huh.
She loved them. She begged for them. And whenever she would get one, she didn't eat the cookie, like take the cookie out. She would hold it this way and chew the chocolate chips out of the cookie. The result was like, anyway, sorry, long diversion. So I'm not sure my own child ever threw food on the floor. She just liked to throw it on herself. But I've taken care of kids who would love to do. One little kid in particular loved to sit there with their lunch and take it and like hold it over the edge of the high chair like they were going to
Mhm.
drop it on the floor and wait for me to react. And I, of course, the first time you're like, no, 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 no. And they'd put it back, But this became the thing that we did instead of them eating was for them to like, and then it would be like, I'll throw one, pea on the floor, or I'll throw one noodle on the floor. And it just kept happening. The kid wouldn't eat, wouldn't eat, wouldn't eat. And it got to the point where finally one day he held the plate out over the edge of the high chair. And I just walked over to him very calmly, took it out of his hand and threw it on the floor. I looked at him and was like, what now? There, your dream has been fulfilled. What can I do for you next? Like,
It is now on the floor.
and he looked so confused. He was just like, I don't, like all plans left his head. He didn't even know what he wanted to do next.
And that's the normal boundary pushing of a toddler, right? I've babysat a lot of kids over the years, and there's always that battle over food. And I found that the easiest way to end the battle is just to go, yeah, it's on the floor next. What are you going to do
Yep.
now?
Okay.
Like, I've had a couple of instances where it's like, well, you put the pizza on the floor. So that is no longer an option. You can have your cheese sticks, you can have your apples. And it's like, what? It's like, no, you don't. You put the pizza. I'm not letting you eat the pizza off of the floor.
No.
And the dog has run off with it anyway. No, like you are not.
No. Even in the cleanest house you've ever been in, that's not okay. No.
It's never happening. So it's like pick different food.
Yeah.
Or if there's more pizza left, maybe. But as somebody in a battle with food, I'm not going to the thing that got put on the floor first.
And
But
I have to jump in with this. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
No. I was done.
It's another disclaimer, but I have to jump in there with this because walking along the street or like in the grocery store, in somebody else's home, whatever, like I would die before I would judge another parent unless they were harming their kid. I would just, because parenting is not easy, as so many things in life are not. And like I said, every kid is different, every parent is different, every family unit is different, every relationship is different, it's all. But this woman chose to put her parenting decisions out there for public scrutiny. And not even that, from what I understand, put them out there as an example.
Yep.
So I get to judge you. That's how that works. Not because because I've got to tell you, I've been the mom in the grocery store with the kid who's screaming. I've been the mom whose only trip out of the house each day was to get a cup of Starbucks, the cheapest one that I could stomach because it wasn't like we had a lot of money at the time. And have gotten to know all the Starbucks employees because that's the one place I go, and have turned around to see that my child is throwing a temper tantrum on the floor in front of the door, blocking other customers from walking in. I've been that mom. It sucks to be that parent. It absolutely does. And it happens to almost, if you're the parent that doesn't happen to, you need to send me because I don't know what I'm doing. But it happens to almost every parent. And as much as you hate it when it's your turn and you're just a little bit relieved when it's someone else's turn, because that means it's not your turn today, right now, and you get to know that it happens to other people too. yeah, it's parenting's a nightmare. It's full of joy and wonder and loveliness as well, but it's a nightmare. So yeah, no judgment on parents in general, just on this particular person who wants to proselytize their parenting practices. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and if
I'm
your toddler is
soapbox
not
done.
having any meltdowns, like, ever, um,
Start a YouTube
you're
channel.
well, I was gonna say,
But don't put them
base
on it. Just talk about it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, don't put them on the channel. Just talk about them, but also, before you start the YouTube channel, take them to a doctor and take
Mm.
yourselves to a therapist, because the only toddlers I have ever encountered, not firsthand, because the people in my life, but the only toddlers I have ever heard of in my entire life that have not thrown temper tantrums ever, come from these Duggar, and they come from these situations where extreme discipline, to put it kindly, and straight up abuse, to put it in legal terms, in this particular case. Like, that's where it comes from, because the kid is too that's the only times I've ever seen a kid not able to throw a temper tantrum, is
Yeah.
because it has their sense of being able to do that has already been destroyed.
Yes.
So if you have a silent toddler, um, just get them checked out, because I'm going to assume that you're a good parent, and assuming that you're a great parent and you have a silent toddler, I feel like everybody would probably feel better if you just got the A-OK that this is the exception that proves the rule, instead of the rule that proves the exception. Just tossing that out there.
But I think we skipped over something that you were pointing out, which is putting your kids on YouTube.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah,
In my
I
own
mean,
personal, like, if they want to do it, if they are active in it, if it's a dream of theirs, there is a YouTube channel of a little boy who has since passed away, but it was his make a wish to, like, get 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's different.
sure. Well, and over a certain age, yeah, if that's what they want to do, then great. But kids under a certain age, they can't make that choice. They don't understand the implications of that choice.
Right.
And we have enough children in this society who are exposed to public scrutiny earlier than they should be. We need, and again, I mean, not against their will, but without their ability to make that choice and understand its implications. So yeah, yuck. I mean, I'm not like, we don't need to pass laws. I'm not trying to do that, but like, just don't be that person. That's not, I talk about my child all the time on this channel, but I don't name them,
Nope.
and I would not ask them to be part of the channel. So there's a difference. You can talk about your parenting. You can talk about, oh my god, I almost threw them out the window, or whatever it is that you need to get out, without making them party to it.
And I mean, your daughter is old enough that on TikTok and things like that, it's still weird for me. I'm like,
I know. It's
she's
still weird
better
for
at this
me.
than I am. I mean, that's not surprising. But still, I'm like, all right, well, can we get her involved behind the scenes? Because she's
Right?
clearly better at that than I am. But
Why have you not said those words until right now? Anyway, yeah.
I don't.
We'll talk about that later. Yes.
Let's keep in mind, this is the human that did once go, why is a sandwich called sandwich? Let's put sand in it.
Yeah.
Yes, internet, I have admitted to that publicly, because it is my weirdest, proudest, most stupid moment as a child. To which my parents were like, how'd that go? They were like, you did what? Why? I don't really know.
Because
No.
that's what it's called. Why wouldn't it have? Yeah.
It's been, I kid you not, it has been 30 years or more since this happened, and it's still funny to them and to me. Cause wow.
My version of that was I we were traveling, I think, or away from home, and I was getting ready for bed, and I went to brush my teeth, and I didn't have any toothpaste, so I used soap.
Oh, oh no. Oh, oh no, no, no,
And
no.
everybody at that time, and when I was younger, his reaction to that was, "Oh, you never got your mouth washed out with soap?" Which now, I mean, people would probably go to jail, but that was like a thing. And I was like, "Nope, nope." There were a lot of things that my family did do to me, and I don't mean that like bad things, but like I had punishments. That was never one of them because I learned to swear from my mother, and I think she at least has enough of a sense of hypocrisy not to do that to her child. But yeah, that was how I learned that you don't put soap in your mouth. That's a bad plan. That's a really bad idea.
And I would state that just washing a kid's mouth out with soap, I don't think would get anybody put in jail today. Um,
You definitely get like lots of judgment and bad opinions of you.
yeah. Oh yeah. No, like all of the free range moms and stuff would be
Mm-hmm.
looking at you all sideways and stuff. Um, Now, if you wash your kids' am I advocating for this? Absolutely not.
No.
No. No. Do I think that if you're
Does
doing
that
that,
actually help anybody? Sorry, I keep cutting
I
you off. It's getting late. I'm a jerk. I
no,
apologize.
we should wrap up anyway, and I don't really want to go in the deep dive of the 8 passengers thing. It's just it's heartbreaking to me because I don't understand. I don't I don't understand how anybody can hurt a tiny human. And I've dealt with some difficult ones. Like, I understand when the infant will not stop crying and you don't know what's wrong. I understand that feeling of helplessness, even not being a mom, because I was babysitting. We're not going to say when, because then the internet will come for my family. And it was just a different time then. And it was my choice. And it was 110% my choice. Um, But I understand that sense of helplessness of, like, doing all of the things with a baby and not having the right answer. I also knew enough that the only way to deal with it is to let the baby yell and to walk away. You're not leaving them, you're not letting them, you're putting them in a crib or somewhere safe. And you're walking, you can still hear them because trust me, an infant can be heard for the first 5-mile
Oh, yeah.
radius. And if you're in the same house, you don't even need a baby monitor. Um, so I understand that. What I don't understand is like with this 8 passengers thing, when they say, and I think they honestly believe this to be true. I do think that the religion aspect mixes poorly with the discipline aspect in certain things. And I do honestly believe that they mean it when they say they feel like the kids shouldn't be with other kids, that they are dangers to other kids. I do think that the people who are now in jail under this 8 passengers thing or are currently in custody, not jail. Um I do honestly think that they believe what they say just because the religion is so prevalent, right? It's like Tom Cruise in Scientology or David Miscavige in Scientology, right? Like they've bought into this hook, line, and sinker. And even though on the outside it can be so obvious to us that this is not a usual path. Like, the heartbreaking thing for me is I actually do, to an extent, I would need more evidence. I think at least in the case of this mother, the religion and the discipline within that religion mix, I think she does honestly believe that she was doing what she needed to do for her children's souls, that their physical bodies don't matter. It's their soul body that matters. Now, it's a whole different kettle of fish, but I'm not saying she should get away with it. I'm not saying any of that. But I think she believed she was doing the right thing. But I don't understand how you get to that point. Like, I don't understand what happens in the brain to allow you to get to that point. Because as for me personally, I've never been pushed to that. But like,
So here's the only path I can find, and having just heard about this today and not knowing a lot of the details, and I don't understand the tenets of whatever child rearing and however that relates to their religion that you're referring to. But I can say from my own standpoint, the hardest I've ever been on my child is when we are with people that I think have expectations of her behavior. And I imagine if you're in a very strict religious community, that you feel everybody has those same expectations of your children's behavior. And the biggest problem, it's actually something I've had to work myself through several times as my child has aged and taken on more responsibility for her own actions, and also just developed her own personality as children and do as they grow into young adults. You start, I shouldn't say you, I started to take it as like evidence of my failing as a parent when she wasn't behaving the way that I thought other people expected her to. So she could curse. I mean, this wasn't like what was happening when she was young, but if she cursed a blue streak at me, like, stop that. That's disrespectful. Don't do that. Like, whatever. If she cursed a blue streak in front of someone that I thought would be hugely offended by that, it's not just, oh my gosh, what you've done is so much worse, but my reaction, my internalization of that failure on my part to explain to her adequately or illustrate for her adequately that that's not appropriate, and then evidenced by her failure to behave correctly, became a much higher stakes game for me than any other behavior. So again, if you're living in this community where you think everyone has these really strict expectations of your children, and that you are the enforcer of those standards, then when they break those standards, if you haven't talked yourself out of the notion that that's about you, because it's not, it's really not. There's actually like scientific evidence these days that our children come out with their own personality traits that may or may not, probably do have something to do with ours. Have you ever noticed that you're most irked by someone when they act exactly the way that you act? So
yes,
that's definitely part of it too. That's a little nugget in there, but it's easy to take it as a challenge to your ability to parent and your authority, and therefore it becomes about, I have to prove that this child can behave the way that they're going to behave for me, not for them, for me. And I don't mean that anyone's conscious of this. I'm only able to sort of, and I hope that made sense outside of my own brain, I'm only able to sort of walk through it because there are many different environments that I interact with my child in, and there are many different standards of the people who we interact with in those environments. And I'm a people pleaser. So
you are.
So many times I would be like in shambles as a human, going, what is wrong with me? And have to sort of dig myself through the logic of that. So that's the only path I can find. And I certainly do not think it's a justification for mistreating your child. And I do imagine that it comes from a place of thinking that is how they should behave. but I truly don't believe you can get past the point of when everyone around you can see you're doing physical harm to your child or emotional damage, continuing in that path without having that personal stake in it. And that just kind of blinds you to everything else, because it's about, no, I will succeed here. I will prove that I can do this.
Yeah.
Sorry. Again, I've gotten up on my soapbox.
No, I'm just thinking, like, part of what's bothered me with this whole 8 passengers thing is, I mean, it's a horrific case. Pardon me, everybody. I need to hang on.
You just want to hear me soapbox? No, I'm kidding.
I mean, I
Back to
do.
you.
It's also, we've got weather and
Mm.
we've been on the show for a while and things like that. Part of what has been fascinating to me with this whole case, not fascinating in a good way at all. Anytime kids are involved, I mean, hearing a 12-year-old say, "What happened to me was my fault," when you then find out there's duct tape involved. No, no. If anybody is ever watching this and has been in a similar situation, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not. As a kid, you're learning how to deal with the world, and there's a difference between respecting a kid and giving them the respect to allow them to show you how mature they can be is very different from demanding a set of behaviors. And don't we all know at this point from, I don't know, the entire Animal Planet channel that give somebody treats as opposed to a whip, and they will, I mean, look at SeaWorld. The orcas that eat the trainers are abused orcas. It's just violence begets violence. You don't need to use a whip or a rod and I know, like, one of the basic tenets in a lot of these is spare the rod, spoil the child. No, it just, it makes the child not willing to blindly follow orders. And if that's what you require, that's a you problem. That's not a problem that needs to be beaten out of the kid. And so, I mean, there's, for me, some of these, there is a track with the religion factor. So for me, I end up bumping up against this. How do we keep the kids safe and keep the religion safe? Because there is a problem with that. And how far can the law go with keeping people safe, but also allowing that freedom of religion? Believe whatever you want, but the second that your faith starts harming people around you, for me, that's when it's not about faith anymore. And I don't think that any religion, and especially so many of these involve Jesus, that dude would not abide. I did that without even trying. Sorry. He wouldn't abide the violence. From everything I know about historical and spiritual Jesus, and yes, they're two different people.
Yes.
And he wouldn't take it. And so I guess for me, in looking at it so closely, just my heart breaks for all those kids, because the people that gave you life and the people that you look to for all of your love and support have taken that away on some level. I know the dad wasn't there, but he was there when everybody was in the home. And so I still have some questions. I worry about what we're going to find out in this as this goes through the court system. I don't want this is my soapbox where I'm going to say leave the children alone. Leave the kids alone. If it is a public trial and they put the kids on the stand and somehow that gets broadcast, don't unless one of them has a press conference that says, "Please watch my testimony." Don't do that to them. I can't imagine that this court would do that to them, but I don't know. It isn't. I don't know. Innocent until proven guilty. This one is tough. This is a when a kid shows up at a neighbor's house covered in duct tape and stuff like that. It's really hard
Yeah.
to allow the process to work. But this is one of those times where we are so media hungry, and I don't care if it's on the internet or not. This has massive ripples, not just the instant family. And these kids have already been online famous for a long time. It will only do more damage to choose sides and blast it from places and find the people in the family. Like, us doing this is one thing. They don't have to watch it. They don't, if they come across it and they say, I don't want to see this, they can move on. If you reach out to them directly, they can't do that. So don't. Unless they have said, reach out to me. Don't go there. Don't touch it. This is going to be a challenge, I think, for everybody watching in being cautious. And it's gonna be, I worry about where the conversation could go.
Yeah.
Because it could so easily go to, well, you didn't, your kid threw his dinner on the floor and you didn't make sure that he went upstairs with a cheese stick. So
Yeah.
you're causing trouble when that's not the same thing as actively withholding food because you view it as a privilege, which has been documented in a lot of their videos, is that they viewed food and water as privileges. Which is another theme throughout a lot of these religions, wherein the notion is that the kid comes out as like that the kid doesn't have learning to do because it's all spiritually there.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just religion sanctioned abuse, in my own personal opinion. That is my own personal opinion.
I have so many questions, but I'm going to reserve them because it's too late to go down all those rabbit holes.
We can save some of those rabbit holes for later, and maybe I can convince one of my other friends who comes from one of these religions with a lot of overlap, right? So that you have this big group where we put this in this category and this in this category, but this is the what I will call New Age Christian, the less than 300 to 500 years old, like Christian culty things, the ones that the Duggars are a part of, and the ones that, but maybe one of these days we will have my friend, our other friend. I say my friend, but you've met and everything, and we will have her on. And she can give us the rundown because holy hell, Mandy. And I do mean holy hell. Like some of the shit these kids get told is nuts to me. And it's not a disparaging of the religion. It's a, when you present a 5-year-old with, if you don't sip your water out of the left side of the cup, you will burn for all eternity in hell. I mean, it's things like that. I'm using a ridiculous example, but it's things like that that are like, or if you disobey mom, you're disobeying God.
That's an interesting one.
And that sort of thing comes up. If you look up IBLP and their overall practices, it's like, God, they do this umbrella thing, and it's like, God, and then the husband, and then the wife. And if you don't respect your umbrella, then basically Satan gets in through the cracks. I mean, it's for a secular person, this is very hard for me to wrap my head around.
Sure.
Which is why I appreciate my friends that were raised in this. And when you're raised in it, it's different. You don't know anything else.
Yeah.
But no, I think as this goes on, the judicial system meeting our freedom of religion, and where is the, I think this is going to cause us to really look at the line of how far does freedom of religion go? And is freedom from religion allowed in that?
Well, and what do you do about kids who
And what do you do with kids?
don't legally have that freedom?
Mm-hmm.
That didn't come out quite right, but hopefully you understood what I meant. It's they are tethered to their parents.
They can't make their own decisions about whether or not to have surgery for good reason. Well,
And that's what's so scary for someone who hasn't come up in a religion like that or had much experience with one. But that division that you're talking about between freedom of religion and preservation of life and safety, right? It's
mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
it's a scary line that I guess we continue to explore.
Well, we
usually
will,
at the expense of children.
yeah, unfortunately. We will definitely keep following this. Let us know in the comments below too. Where do you know where the line is? Where is that line? Where is the freedom of religion, freedom from religion? How do kids factor into that? I think that ultimately in this 8 passengers case with Jody Hildebrand and Ruby Frankie, I think that's really the questions that this is causing us to confront, is where is the line and how do we protect our kids and also protect our constitutional rights and their constitutional rights, because they have them too.
Yes.
And where do they intersect? And I think that's worth exploring. And this was a dark topic to sort of end with. I'm going to swoop. Let's see if we can do a real quick something lighter. I can't think, but we need a little silliness before we think. So do the YouTube things. Let us know what you think. It's a heavy topic. Murdaugh's just ridiculous. We should have ended with Mudaugh, but I wasn't thinking. Swoopy doop. Silly.
Writing down times.
I am, because otherwise I watch us at 2x speed. Or listen to us at 2x speed, and that's how I find where the swoops are. And that's great and all, but I'm real tired of my own voice. Not that anybody can tell. I know I'm still talking a lot. But yeah, this saves me. Then at least I can put this up for timestamps and be reasonably sure that I'm close. As opposed to having to watch it all again. Silliness. I feel like we need a stretch break of.
I don't know. I keep thinking about this whole classification of significant others as types of animals that I was telling you about
Yes.
earlier. Yes.
Yes.
So this was
Yes.
brought to me by people my child's age. So I know not at all what I'm speaking about, really. But apparently, we now are talking about significant others as either golden retrievers, black cats, or I think it was Dobermans, but it might have been Rottweilers. I don't know. It was one of those. It was a big, tough, scary dog. Which I also think it's interesting that it's 2 dogs and a cat.
And
It
only
seems like
3?
there'd be a natural tension there. I don't know. These are the only 3 I was told about.
I have questions.
I'm new here. I have questions. I have many questions. My child does not have patience for all of my questions. But what's most interesting to me is like the continuous pendulum swing between like, let's define everything, and then like, everybody just be whoever you want. Let's give a name to everything. Everybody just be whoever. Great. Because like, I feel like I spent my teens and 20s just getting very comfortable and happy, right? So this is where like my understanding of other humans in the world is based with whatever. Do whatever. Yeah. I mean, are you hurting anybody? Are you hurting you? No? Then do whatever you want. Sweet. You want to date everybody with a pulse. Good for you.
Right.
You only want to date people who answer to this name. Good for you. Like it's all whatever. And then I remember a couple of years back, I was looking at the Pride Month calendar, and there was like a different day for every classification of, and again, do whatever you want, as long as you're not hurting anybody and you're okay, do whatever you want. But like, we had 30 days, in case you didn't know that's how long June was, of different classifications of people. And that's, my brain is like allergic to that, because it's like, but then these people are different from these people, and these people over here are different from them. We're all in our own little pockets, and you're weird because you're not like me, and that gets ugly. So wow, I'm getting really silly.
A group that is literally everybody except cisgendered straight people. Like, it's literally everyone except cisgendered straight people.
Yeah, we're just over here. And actually, no, it's everyone except cisgendered straight. Well, no, cisgendered straight people. You might be right. That might be. I feel like it's a smaller group than that somehow. Like, my brain was like, but no, it's even smaller. Because it's just so fucking.
I mean, it might just be cisgendered straight white people that
it really could. It could be.
I mean, I don't know. It's everybody else, but.
Yeah, it's like cisgendered straight people who don't have any fetishes. I don't know. It's like, it's a very small group of people.
Yeah.
Because everything was on this list. And so now, again, like, my brain, we all just love is love, and everybody do their thing. And now it's like, and now we're going to come up with these 3 animals. And again, it's not that my child's age group is determining the future of the world quite yet, but like, it sounded like this was common terminology. So now I'm stuck sitting here. I'm not a golden retriever, 100% sure. I do not fall into that category. They're just too happy. They're just too happy and cute. Yeah. But like, I'm also not a black cat. Mm-hmm. I guess that leaves me with like Doberman, Rottweiler, whatever was in the other category. But I don't think I'm that scary either. So now I'm homeless in the chart
like we need more animals in that. Like, there are a lot of personalities that are missing.
Like, I'm an otter, man.
Yes,
I am 100% an otter. That's who I am. But that's not on the list. So does that, like, I have no one to hold hands with when I fall asleep in the ocean, so we don't float away from each other, because it's just me.
But no, there has to be another otter out there. I have questions. The kids, children, I have questions.
I will try to get more information, but in the meantime, you can enjoy deciding which of those 3 categories, if any, you think you and everybody you know fall into, because that's what we do in my house.
And I submit a motion to add otter and raccoon at the very least to this group. Because, I mean, let's be real, most days I am 100% a trash panda.
I mean, is there a category for that little thing I sent you of like the dumpster that's on fire floating through the floodwaters in the rain? Because that's really my category these days. But
I
it's not
mean,
an animal, so I don't know.
I think you have to be over a certain age to really identify with the dumpster on fire floating through a flood.
If there had just been a raccoon hanging onto the side, it could have been the whole package right there.
True. It could have been. And see, now I'm seeing that GIF with the dumpster just do with a raccoon on top. Like,
Yeah.
yep, just out in the boat, guys.
Just a regular old Sunday. Yep.
And on that note, at nearly 2 hours, we kept you guys for a long time. And I am
We're
tired.
past,
It is past midnight
it's
on
past
a
our
school
bedtime.
night.
Yeah, by a lot.
By a lot. This will obviously not be going up today because I got a timestamp and shit.
Well, it's already tomorrow, so there you go.
So, nope, I have reached the point of buffering. I seriously need a sign to just hold up when my brain buffers.
Thought loading.
Yeah.
Thought loading. Thank you guys. If you've hung in here this long, thank you for coming along with us on this very interesting journey tonight. It has been all over the place, but hope you've had fun.
And if you... Oh, go ahead.
No, you go. It's all you. You're up.
I was going to say, if you like these this long, let us know, because at some point soon, this would be great as a live with you people chatting with us. That would be wonderful. That would be truly wonderful. With you not chatting with us, tell us how you made it to 2 hours, because that would be wonderful. Yeah. And which bits you liked. And if you didn't like that it was 2 hours and it took you 5 times to get through it, I'm looking at you, Mom and Dad. Love you. Absolutely love you. Appreciate the fact that you listen every week. It's wonderful. However, I also know that it's going to take you like a week and a half to get through this. And that's okay. That is okay. But okay, maybe not Dad. Dad, you and I can chat not publicly. That would be better. Everybody else, everybody that's not my family, trust me. Yeah, let us know when we needed to stop talking. Me needed to stop talking, and or what other topics would you like? Because help, because otherwise I'll fall down YouTube rabbit holes, and then Mandy has to listen to me with all the YouTube rabbit holes that I fell down.
I love it. It's how I stay informed. Are you kidding?
So, I feel like this is... I feel like we should start calling that hearsay or something like that, because it's just all the stuff that I've seen like filtered through LawTube and things. That means I need a new bumper. Damn it.
Here tube. I don't know. That wasn't very good.
I like it. I like
it. We can have another shot at that next time.
I'm building new bumpers in my head. We're creating a whole new segment. It is time for us to sign off. So I'm going to run the outro, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks for sticking around so long.
It's late.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Unfiltered Tea. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you have a story you want our unfiltered take on, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we will see you next time.